Welcome to this video where we will discuss one of the most debated topics in the history of science and religion. Is evolution real or is it a myth? Evolution is the process by which living organisms change and develop over time. And it is a theory that has been proposed and tested by scientists for over 150 years. However, the idea of evolution has faced challenges and criticism from various sources. And in this video, we will explore the evidence for and against evolution. What is evolution? Evolution is a complex and multifaceted concept that involves many different disciplines of science. At its core, evolution is the process by which living organisms change and develop over time, through mechanisms such as natural selection and genetic variation. This means that the characteristics of living things can change and adapt to their environment, and that these changes can be passed on to future generations. The idea of evolution was first proposed by Charles Darwin in his book, On the Origin of Species, which was published in 1859. In this book, Darwin proposed the theory of natural selection, which explains how organisms that are better adapted to their environment are more likely to survive and reproduce, passing on their advantageous traits to their offspring. Evidence for evolution. One of the most significant pieces of evidence for evolution comes from the fossil record. Fossils are the preserved remains of ancient organisms, and by studying these fossils, scientists have been able to trace the development and diversification of different species over millions of years. For example, the fossil record shows that whales evolved from land-dwelling mammals, and that birds evolved from dinosaurs. Another key piece of evidence for evolution comes from genetics. DNA is the genetic material that determines an organism's traits, and by comparing the DNA of different species, scientists can determine how closely related they are. This has allowed scientists to create a tree of life that shows how different species are related to one another. For example, humans share around 98% of their DNA with chimpanzees, which suggests that we share a common ancestor. Natural selection is another key component of the theory of evolution, and there is abundant evidence to support this mechanism of evolution. For example, the famous case of the peppered moth in England shows how natural selection can lead to changes in the appearance of a species over time. Before the Industrial Revolution, most peppered moths had light-colored wings, which helped them blend in with the lichen on trees. However, as pollution darkened the trees, the darker variant of the peppered moth became more common, as it was better able to blend in with the new environment. Another example of natural selection can be seen in the development of antibiotic resistance in bacteria. When antibiotics are used to kill bacteria, some bacteria may have genetic variations that make them resistant to the antibiotic. These bacteria are more likely to survive and reproduce, passing on their antibiotic-resistant traits to their offspring. Over time, this can lead to the development of bacteria that are resistant to multiple antibiotics. Arguments against evolution. Despite the overwhelming evidence in support of evolution, there are still many people who argue against it. One of the most common arguments is that evolution is just a theory and has not been proven. However, in science, a theory is an explanation that is supported by evidence and has been tested repeatedly. The theory of evolution meets these criteria and is widely accepted by the scientific community as a well-supported explanation for the development and diversification of life on Earth. Another argument against evolution is that it contradicts religious beliefs, particularly the idea of creationism. Creationism is the belief that the universe and all living things were created by a divine being or beings, and that evolution is not compatible with this belief. However, it is important to note that many religious individuals and groups accept the theory of evolution and do not see it as conflicting with their faith. In fact, many religious leaders and organizations have spoken out in support of evolution and the compatibility of science and faith. Another argument against evolution is that there are gaps in the fossil record and that scientists have not found evidence for every stage of evolutionary development. However, it is important to understand that the fossil record is incomplete, as only a small fraction of all living things that have ever existed are likely to have been preserved as fossils. Additionally, the process of fossilization is rare and requires specific conditions, such as rapid burial, which further limits the number of fossils that are available for study. Finally, some critics of evolution argue that the complexity and diversity of life cannot be explained by natural selection and that there must be some form of intelligent design at work. However, this argument is not supported by the evidence, as natural selection has been shown to be a powerful mechanism for driving the development and diversification of life. Additionally, the idea of intelligent design is not a scientific theory, as it cannot be tested or falsified through observation and experimentation. Conclusion. In conclusion, the evidence for evolution is overwhelming and has been supported by numerous scientific disciplines, including genetics, paleontology, and ecology. Despite ongoing criticism and debate, the theory of evolution remains one of the most well-supported and widely accepted explanations for the development and diversification of life on Earth. Whether one accepts or rejects the theory of evolution ultimately comes down to personal beliefs and values. However, it is important to approach this topic with an open mind and to consider the evidence and arguments presented by both sides. By doing so, we can gain a deeper understanding of the natural world and our place in it. Thank you for watching.